Hello, everybody. My name is Natasha Phipps, and we are having another industry expert / investor spotlight today. I have a different location today. I'm actually in Edmonton. We are going to see Gary Vaynerchuk this evening. So I'm out of town, so I apologize if the sound and the light isn't maybe as good as it normally is, but excited to be here either way. And I am joined today by Schantel Hochheimer. Is that right?
Yes,
How I said the last name? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we're going to talk about you today. We're going to talk about kind of your journey in real estate and your expertise in the property management field as well. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is nerve-wracking a little bit being live, but it's all good.
It's one of those things you kind of got to just jump in and do it. And it gets easier over time for sure. But I really appreciate your time and yeah, just joining us here today. So usually the goal of these live streams is to, well, first of all, tell people about you and tell your story a little bit, provide some, educational pieces or content that people can learn from. Maybe they could connect with you after as well, and a way for us all to grow our network and learn from one another. So that's the goal of these interviews. And yeah, I'm excited to learn about you. So tell us about you. Tell us about how you got into real estate investing and a little bit about your backstory.
So we got into real estate. My husband and I got into real estate investing in 2017.
Okay.
We went and saw Scott McGilvery, his free seminar,
Yes.
initially a 3-hour seminar on how to invest in real estate. Previously, before that, I actually was born and raised in Calgary and Medicine Hat, Alberta. My husband and I moved up here in 2013, or back to Calgary in 2013 during the floods. And I kind of fell into the property management role. So from 2013 to 2017, I was doing property management in different roles in the industry. So I always knew I wanted to do the investing, which is why 2017 comes around, Scott McGilvery shows up, we're like, we're going.
So, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's how we started. Because we had the property management background, we focus mostly on multifamily. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and starting with the background of property management is a huge advantage because that's people's largest fear often is surrounding property management, the unknowns and not knowing what they don't know, the fears, the bad stories that you hear, all of that stuff. So I'm sure that really boosted your guys' confidence as you entered this space as real estate investors, I would assume, right?
Yeah, tenants weren't scary for us.
Yeah.
We've seen all sorts of stuff already. So I think it's a 4-year gap, at least for me, for property management, all the different scenarios we could possibly run into for condos as well. Because I did focus, I was property manager for condos for a while.
Okay.
So I was familiar, with bylaws, their special assessments, making sure your tenants are really paying attention to those bylaws because condos tend to be non-forgiving. So we're definitely more confident with that background for sure.
Cool. And then for your, there's two kind of pieces we'll talk about there, but for your own investments, you mentioned, so you guys went straight into multifamily. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So our first property was fourplex with a garage that was rented separately. It was not in Calgary.
Yeah.
The numbers were amazing where we found it. We had a joint venture partner with this one. We were purely working partner. We knew the neighborhood, it was fully rented, that kind of stuff. Since then, we've increased rents a little bit and now have paid out our partners. So
yay.
Yeah.
Is that in small town Alberta?
It is, yes. It's in Medicine Hat, Alberta. So
okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, you had the expertise and you had a deal, obviously. And so obviously you're probably self-managing that as well. So finding the joint venture partner with your expertise, I'm sure that was a huge asset to you as well when you're talking to people, when you have this experience on the property management side, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think it felt a little bit more comfortable because I was familiar with the RTA and how to go about getting those tenants. If we did have vacancies. So for the first couple of years, there was 0 vacancy on that property. And we just kind of started increasing rents because rents weren't at market. And then now they are. So, yeah.
And you and your husband do this together?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And so you're kind of like day job, so to speak, I guess, is your property management company. Tell us about that, because you previously were working for another group and then you've started your own. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So the last year I finished all the licensing requirements with RICA to become a broker. And then in
Yes.
March of 2021, I transitioned from another brokerage into my own brokerage. So,
Yay, that's so exciting.
yeah, it was exciting, nerve-wracking, but it's
Yes.
good. It's good. I had experience in the past with building policies and stuff. So building that whole to do's and don't do's, or this is how we're going to do it procedure wise, was pretty easy. So I'm full-time with my brokerage, Aspire Peak Properties, doing property management since March.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And so your property management company, they handle like any type of residential rental properties, or what's the specialty?
We do, yeah. So residential unfurnished properties, anything from single family, suited, to multifamily as well. And then we also have a lease only option. Being investors ourselves, sometimes you just need a little bit of extra help to lease a property, but you can manage it for the rest of your months. So we've added the lease only option in there for management fees as well.
Yeah. I talk about that one a lot, kind of the hybrid, right? Like you're still getting the benefit of the upfront work, hire that out. You're not comfortable with that, use the a la carte services out there. That's great. So, property management, like I said, is usually, well, just tenants, something like that. That's usually obviously the make or break it. It's one thing to go buy a property, we help them with the transaction, but it's really all about the management after of how this property is going to make money. What do you recommend, since you've been an investor and as a role and now a broker in this, when people are like looking for a property management company, like what are the things they really need to be looking for? What questions should they be asking?
The biggest thing, actually, because I've run into this recently with a owner we picked up in August, I think it was. He had gone with another management company. So that management company was hard to get a hold of. So you want to definitely be seeing how their communication is with them from your first, initial meeting to inquiry on pricing, sort of thing. Yeah. As well as you want to make sure they're licensed. So
thank you. Yes.
This previous management company was not licensed. So anyways, that ended up being not so great for this owner. So he transitioned over to us because he didn't realize they weren't licensed. But there's a really quick and easy tool you can do on rica.ca. Search for industry professional, type their name or the brokerage name in there, and it will pop up.
This is a huge tip, like a huge piece of advice. Now, different provinces also have different rules around this. Yes. In Ontario, my understanding is anyone can just be a property manager. Like you can decide to be a property manager, start a property management company. And in Alberta, it's regulated, just like if you're a realtor or a property manager, or you have a property management brokerage like Schantel does. This is regulated by the Real Estate Council of Alberta. And when you call someone up, I agree, that should be the first question that you're asking. Are you licensed? And what would the benefits be, do you think? I mean, there's lots I'm thinking of, but I'd love to hear from you. If someone who has no idea, like what's the benefit to obviously working with someone that's licensed that or isn't?
Well, I mean, I think you touched on it a little bit there, the fact that we're regulated. We have a governing body. So we have someone to be held accountable by. Yes. Exactly. And, that kind of helps with the professionalism in the industry as well. 100%. Right, because they actually has rules in place for customer service representation, that sort of thing, our fiduciary duties, all that. So there's more to it than just being licensed or having a permit per se to do the job. We actually have duties we're required to uphold to. So
exactly. Your job is to act in their best interest.
Exactly.
While following all the legislation and rules and laws and protecting their money and their asset. And you have the education to get you to this point. So it's not just, okay, I'm gonna be a property manager. There's a lot more to it. Insurance is a huge one. And just making sure you're working with the right professionals, like across the board.
Insurance, cybersecurity, that's definitely become a big thing as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of owners or landlords know, but property management companies that are licensed are required to hold your money in trust. So, and then those trust accounts are regulated on top. So that's another almost safeguard in place for their money.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big thing. The trust account reporting, Schantel as a brokerage owner, she has to do continuous reporting to show what money she's holding, what is it for, and have the appropriate reports to give to the regulators, I guess. So huge thing, always ask that question. And then of course you're getting someone who is an expert in their field. This is their specialty. They're not just, doing kind of random tasks for people, which I find some of these like just random ads you'll see, that's what you're hiring. Now, if it is your own property, you can manage your own property without being a licensed property manager. But if you're hiring someone in Alberta, that's the legislation that is to be followed. No different if you're hiring a realtor. So huge learning tip there. And again, changes province per province.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like that advice. And I mean, other benefits thinking about hiring a property management company, similar to hiring a realtor, comparing to like selling your house on your own, right? Even things like how the property is presented, how it's priced, how it's shown, all the checks and balances that go into it. You don't want to have to do that on your own. It's really best to hire an expert. You even see the photos out there, like random, things like it just tell the properties are not being presented well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Part of our, services is we do the professional photography, the virtual tour, which is usually the eye guide. So you can click on the little circle through the
Love that. Yeah.
video and go around. And then it provides a floor plan layout, because a lot of times tenants do have those questions about, how big's the space? Is my furniture going to fit? Especially if you're doing smaller condos or weird layouts, that sort of stuff. So that is definitely key for, presenting.
Absolutely. It should look as nice as possible, right? Just because it's a rental property, we don't want to like downplay the marketing. When the marketing is everything. So that's great. What are you seeing, considering you've been doing this pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, in between everything? What kind of trends are you seeing out there in terms of tenants and what people are looking for these days?
Well, post-pandemic, there were it was still busy for tenants. Like they were still looking a lot long term. They're a little bit more stable, but pricing was definitely lower or negotiated post-pandemic. Now, I think those prices have dropped enough. There's not enough. I haven't had too many negotiations on price now, but there's still, those tenants are looking as well. So it really fluctuated because, beginning of COVID, it was essentially dead.
Yeah, it was
dead,
like
right?
the Wild West. Yeah.
Exactly. No one was really looking, and I don't blame them. Or if they were looking to downsize, get out of condos, multifamily buildings. They were looking at the single families.
Trying to spread out.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Now this year we're definitely seeing an increase again. So yeah,
rental prices have kind of turned a corner and going up again. So it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. And you kind of touched on there what tenants are looking for and needing. Do you foresee that long term? Like, do you think the kind of push out to more space and spreading out, even though maybe we've sort of maybe turned a corner in this pandemic, who knows, regardless, do you think that's a kind of a long-term trend, given more and more companies are allowing work from home long-term? Like, if I was to say do a renovation, make the perfect property for a tenant, what do you think I should be keeping in mind that tenants need out of these properties?
Well, I think you touched on it there, that home office. That's a big one right now, because I think even now, people are either going back again to working from home, or they never left
That's right.
working from home. So the extra space, definitely. I find my single families go a little bit faster right now, but the condos do go well as well because they're lower priced. So
Sure.
it's kind of a balancing act in between.
Probably two different types of tenants there.
Tenants as well, yeah.
Looking for different things. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's going to change all that much. Like very much on the resale side too. It's like, where's my work from home space? Where's my Zoom room? I like to call it. Like I need a Zoom room. I have to have a Zoom room. And it may start to maybe slow down a little bit, but I think we're in such an interesting time where so many of these businesses and corporations are going to just have this more hybrid model, even as we go back to work into these spaces, that I think they'll always, at least for foreseeable future, I think, have this work from home component if you want it, which I think is great. So that's awesome. So where are you headed, to kind of pivot back to you? Where are you and your husband hoping to head with your own portfolio? Like what's are you kind of wanting to stick to multifamily? Like what's getting you excited about real estate investing these days?
Yeah, so still multifamily for sure. Right now we have a portfolio of 14 doors, and looking to grow that definitely. Hoping to do more of instead of the smaller multifamilies, like the fourplexes, the triplex, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Hoping to get into the larger multi, not hoping, we'll get into the.
Yes, I was just about to correct you there.
Yeah. We'll get into the larger multis.
Call
Yeah.
Schantel. Yeah. And will you be sticking to kind of like Medicine Hat and some of these smaller regions, or where are you interested in and excited right now?
Medicine Hat's definitely a good area for cash flow. You're still hitting that 1% rule for sure. And then Lethbridge has some interesting things, I think, as well. There's similar market.
Yes.
And then Edmonton, Leduc, I think they're also areas to look into for sure. I know Calgary has a couple that have come recently that I'm like, I should maybe re-look into Calgary. But yeah, Edmonton, Leduc, I think those areas.
The multifamily space, I kind of like the smaller centers, like you were saying too.
Yeah.
For Calgary specifically, the kind of fourplexes, that kind of thing works really well. And then, but as you get like say a smaller multifamily, like 8, 10, 12 units, you're almost better in Calgary to buy 2 fourplexes than 1 8 or 10 unit building.
Yeah.
So when you go out to these smaller centers, that's not the same. You kind of get that economies of scale that starts to work. So that's really exciting. So you're raising money, looking for joint venture partners. Is that kind of the place you guys are at, or has already secured? Like what would be the most helpful to you and your guys' business at this time?
We've got a couple properties on the go here.
Oh, good.
So I'm hoping to finalize something here by the end of the year, with another, fourplex, or there was, I think, a 12 unit in Lethbridge I was looking at. But yeah, we've got, joint venture partners, always look for the partners first, and then find the property deal that's going to make sense to them, because you want to know what their goals are too, right? If it's not going to make sense for both parties, then it's not going to work out. So yeah,
100%. That's always the place to start, in my opinion. Start with the goals and then go down from there. Because, well, at least my 2 cents anyway, on most developers, you at least need to have that kind of long-term vision, right? Cash flow is really what's attracting people here, lower taxes. And actually, let's talk about landlord tenancy laws just briefly. I think we talk about that in Alberta and the benefits that we have here over other provinces, because that's a huge reason why people look at Alberta. So let's talk about that. And maybe there's some people who want to connect with you after as well about your opportunities. But from a property management side, investor, like what makes Alberta so great on the landlord and tenancy laws?
Well, there's a couple things, and I know I was talking to Lindsay Gowan yesterday regarding some of the differences between Alberta and Ontario.
Yes.
I think one thing that kind of shocks landlords or investors out in Ontario or out east there is pet fees. and being able to reject or because I think, being able to reject pets. Because I think the laws, and don't quote me because I don't know Ontario very well, but they can't. Can't reject pets, regardless if they have a pet or no pets. You always have to accept the pet, and they can't charge for it on top of that. Where in Alberta, you can charge one-time pet fee, which is non-refundable, or a monthly pet fee as well.
Yes, love it. Love that.
Some other things, I think there's something to do with the security deposit too. I'm not sure if you know.
I don't know that one. Actually don't know that one. The main ones that get people excited that I know about is, well, first of all, you can raise the rent once per year as much as you
Yes.
Whereas
rent increases,
rental increases are a big one. And then just our ability to evict here, I think is much. I mean, you mentioned it, you've been through this before, the process. Like there was a post I saw in a group this week, I can't remember which group it was, but she was finally getting her hearing from a request that she'd made in 2019. And just now getting her hearing, like that's not the experience here.
No, definitely not. So I touch on both those topics. So rent increases, we can increase as much as we want. It's once a year still, but and our leases also don't have to automatically go to periodic, which is month to month. We can renew for a fixed term.
Yes.
So that's something different, and our fixed term ends when it ends.
That's huge.
It's huge. I think Ontario, she was saying it was 1.2% increase for them this year, and none last year during the pandemic. So that would be insane because inflation definitely went up these last 2 years. So
exactly.
And then evictions, I think the process is similar, but our timelines are faster for sure. So 14 days, 16 days, because first day you put out the notice and the day they leave don't count. And then we're usually looking at a couple weeks to get into the RTA to get that judgment or that court date. And then depending if the tenant shows up or not in court will depend whether that judge provides a payment plan or says, okay, no, he didn't bother to show up, so here we reward you the eviction kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And that timeline is huge. I mean, to have your investment, first of all, not protected, you have a tenant with some sort of issue, let's say, and you're having to wait years to get them out. Like imagine what can go on in that period of time, and just lost revenue and stress and all of that combined. Just for your sleep at night, capacity is huge here. And there's many people who are not investing in Ontario for that reason. Like I really hope the Ontario government does something about this, but as of now, that's a really huge advantage to Alberta. So thank you for going through that. I wanted to maybe talk about one more thing before we kind of wrap up, but
sure.
I always like to ask people, like, if you could go back to when you were first starting, or tell someone who's just kind of, dipping their toe into this, they haven't maybe done a whole lot yet, but like, is there some sort of lesson learned or something you wish you knew when you were first starting that you would tell people now, or tell yourself now, even if you could?
For starting in investing or property management?
Yeah. Well, maybe both. Let's start with investing. Yeah.
Investing, I mean, you're constantly learning. I think each deal you learn something on.
Absolutely.
What was it about our first one? I'm trying to think here.
Well, constantly learning is a huge thing, right?
It is for sure. Because there's going to be changes in tenants. There's going to be changes in personality for those tenants as well. Changes in how you do showings, especially with the pandemic. Changes in partners as well, kind of expectations, wording in your joint venture agreement, that's important as well, and making sure you kind of have a good rapport at the beginning, because you don't want to really burn that bridge. It's a big financial purchase, right, for both of you. So
exactly.
Yeah.
The personality one is good too. Like knowing your own personality combined with other people's personality is an important factor. Your joint venture partner, you want to be able to, you're going to work with these people for quite a long period of time, hopefully. And so hopefully this is a relationship that you're nurturing, and but the learning, I really like that you mentioned, like the continual learning, even however many transactions I have done now. I should add this up, how many hundreds and hundreds of tons of transactions as a realtor that I've done. I still see stuff all the time where I'm like, whoa, I don't know what to do with this, or I've never seen this before, or I can't believe this, or okay, we got to work through this here. There's constantly, like you said, changes, things to be learning, but the rewards are obviously great. But your personality has to get okay with that change.
Yes.
It's going to come, it's going to happen. It's going to be things and stress and that kind of stuff. So that's a huge tip. And property management, do you think people should self-manage at first to learn about it? Or again, just go back to their personality, maybe? Like what would you recommend in that space?
You might have a better appreciation of what a property manager does if you're self-managing at the beginning. I think at a certain point, if you're growing your portfolio on the investor side of things, you have to take a step back if you want to continue to grow. So getting away from that day-to-day management and accounting, because there's a lot of accounting, especially in multifamily. You're going to want a property manager at that point. But yeah, it might be a good idea to try self-managing yourself. Obviously, if you're uncomfortable with it, then don't. I can always lease it out for you. Like if you're not worried about, or if you're worried about tenants or how to do showings or what's going to be all involved in the lease, like there are management companies that will do lease only. So we can at least start out that part, and then you can work with the relationship for the tenant throughout the year. Maybe that's a good compromise in between too. Yeah.
And that is a really good way to start, knowing what is all involved in this space. Like a good property manager makes it seem easy but there's a lot of components going on here. Like Schantel said, like there's a lot of constant communication, constant bookkeeping, constant tasks that have to be done in the day-to-day world. And so if you're trying to build a portfolio, you're not trying, what I always like to say is, you're not trying to buy yourself another full-time job. That's not what we're all trying to do. Most of us that invest in real estate, we're trying to buy freedom and time. And so people who get this mentality, like I need to do everything myself, it's like you're literally buying yourself another job. And that's not often what got people into real estate. So it's a really great reminder to think about that. Your time, where is your time best spent in your business of real estate investing, and using services like Schantel has provided is a great way to make your time go further and free up your time to do other things. So
definitely.
Awesome. Wonderful. That's a great piece of advice. And I think that's a good place to wrap it up. But we will put Schantel's information. We'll just tag her in the post in our group, as well as put her information in the YouTube video. But I appreciate you so much. And thank you for coming on here today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very easy. So less nerve-wracking as we went on. So it's good.
Good. Yes. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And just to, I did not prep her very much. I gave her very little because I like it to be, we'll just see where it goes, right? This is a conversation. So I appreciate you for putting yourself out there and doing this. But everyone, reach out to Schantel if you have questions about her services or her opportunities. Wealth of knowledge here, so take advantage of it. And I really appreciate you providing value to our group here today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.